Tariffs are all the rage these days, and I do mean rage, and I do mean that in more ways than one. Right now, I'm gonna comment on a segment from CNN that's very interesting on this topic. I am Neo-BARBARIAN, High Priest of Communism, where we believe in the abolition of all of your private property. Now, this British-sounding pundit here is going to give us a very hoity-toity speech while looking down at his notes to read some American history. But the delivery is very good, so I'm going to let it play out.
Tariffs on basically the entire world will do what for the economy?
It will send it into reverse. Let there be no doubt about this. The president said today a whole load of economic nonsense, things that we know simply will not happen. He talks about it being great for the economy and it's going to boost growth. It will not.
People fundamentally misunderstand Donald Trump, and I will get to that at the end of the video some more.
Look, I've studied this a million which ways upside down, and many of the people in that rose garden know it. The president conveniently forgot about the Payne-Aldrich Act of 1910. He ignored the Fort Macumber Act of 1910. He went straight through Smoot-Hawley. And then he gets to this nirvana.
All the things he just looked up on ChatGPT.
Where billions of dollars are going to come in. Where does he think these billions are coming from? They're coming from importers. Importers will pay because they get something known as a customs schedule when the goods come off the boat. And that is an invoice, and the importer pays. And the importer passes it to the wholesaler. The wholesaler passes it to the distributor. The distributor get you all.
This is a pro-tariff pundit, by the way.
It out, passes it to you.
All right, so
Me?
It's very important, okay? Folks at home, classes in session, remember what he just said there.
He had the right audience for that tirade.
Because here is what Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, just told Caitlin Collins in the last hour. Listen.
Everybody sit back, take a deep breath. Don't immediately retaliate. Let's see where this goes, because if you retaliate, that's how we get escalation.
So out of the goodness of their hearts, they are supposed to not retaliate. Calm down, don't panic. Because maybe this might go away if Trump just wakes up one morning and decides.
It's true, we don't really know where all this is going to go, do we?
To change it back.
Look, I think the president is right in his critique that free trade has ravaged towns and cities across this country. I even saw you acknowledge earlier,
yes,
Richard, I think with Aaron Burnett, that some countries have indeed taken advantage of the United States. And we can debate the merits of the appropriate approach to address that. I mean, there are towns across this country now that were once thriving. They're now consumed by drugs, crime, the stench of hopelessness.
True.
Places that were really vibrant. There was once a middle class of a lot of Americans from the Rust Belt to even some communities of color that really saw themselves move up the economic ladder in part because of manufacturing. Now, the question becomes, to the point that you just raised, Richard, what about the consumer? I would personally like to explore perhaps some type of a tax credit.
Now, what he's describing here is a situation that used to concern Democrats. The Democrats used to be concerned about the working class, because that was their voter base. But they thought they could get away with virtue signaling to the middle class to get their vote and implementing policies that benefit the finance sector. And the finance sector is all about credit, and it's all about ownership. So big finance is an international kraken with tentacles everywhere, and they own everything. And when I say they, it's wealth that's distributed, but it's distributed in a way which normal people have no control over anything. And they don't own anything. And what does big finance need? They need cheap money to borrow. They need low wages. Hence, the migrant crisis that we've been seeing, and the total abandonment and the total betrayal of all working people in Western countries.
Deduction to companies to not pass this on to the consumer, maybe some type of a rebate similar to...
Why does his face look so funny?
to what we have for electric vehicles, so that car manufacturers have a way not to pass it on to consumers. So I think that there are some comprehensive ways that the administration. Let me finish. There are some comprehensive ways that the administration can do this. I would argue.
True. I don't think they're going to do it that way. I think they're going to try to go with tax cuts. But true.
To some great effect for the American people.
I hear what you're saying, but I mean, I remember my college economics class, and my understanding is that conservative economic principles was that you get the government out of redistributing wealth from companies to consumers. So hold on. So your idea is basically you slap a tariff, raise prices, and then you give a discount from the government to companies to not raise those taxes when what you could do is just not raise prices at all.
What she's describing is what CNN has been a proponent of for 20 years. This has been the Democratic position.
Abby, and I think both y'all have a point. For the last 20 years, there's been a major black swan in this situation. That's China. China comes into the global trading system. It's a very different kind of economy. They subsidize everything. The government runs everything. And so you get something called the China shock, where literally a ton of jobs from the Rust Belt, as you're talking about. I grew up in rural Indiana. That was my whole growing up experience. They leave, counties, communities are hollowed out. More importantly, and this is where it gets really interesting, critical goods that we need in this country, you can't produce anymore in the system as it was originally envisioned.
And this is a matter of national security. This is not just simply a matter of jobs. This is a matter of existential importance. Read history, read about World War I or World War II, and see who the winners and losers are, and see why. It's about manufacturing. It doesn't matter what your fancy technology is. You need manufacturing.
In the post-war era, because the global economy has changed and you have all these players that are playing by different rules now. And one thing I will say, and this is not to say that Donald Trump is doing this strategy of, kicking the Bretton Woods system, out and changing globalization. I don't think he's doing it right. But he is making an important point, which is that it's outdated and it needs to change. And that is a stepping off point for a conversation I would like to see Democrats actually engaging with more proactively myself.
They used to.
Let me say a couple of things. First, I don't think it's a coincidence that he scheduled Liberation Day, which I call Hypertension Day, because it's going to give us all a heart attack. But I don't think it's a coincidence that he scheduled it the day after the Wisconsin race, knowing that he could
say the day after April Fool's Day.
Knowing that he could have, we don't have April Fool's Day anymore, honey. The entire year has been nothing but a joke, a bad one. But I don't think it's a coincidence it was scheduled after that election, so that this is the thing we're talking about, right?
She's close, but she's not quite correct. She's starting to understand Donald Trump, but she's not quite there yet. I'll explain at the end of the video.
Donald Trump is such an expert at distracting us. Also, as I watched that ceremony today, and then I saw so many Republicans who I know have been free traders and anti-tariff people their entire careers, starting with my former Senator Marco Rubio, who I have known since we were like teenagers. This man has spent his entire life arguing against tariffs, and now he's out there waving the flag. And so it's almost like you're watching, the emperor has no clothes on.
That's their take. Not, oh, I'm so glad they finally agree with our position of
play live on your TV, and it's the problem of there being no guardrails.
But could it be possible that some of those Republicans of the past were partially incorrect?
No, it's possible that they've lost their cojones and that they are doing nothing but kowtowing to Donald Trump.
So Anna, let's leave the president out of it for a minute.
How do you leave the president?
We can't leave Donald Trump. We can't leave President Donald Trump out of it. He's the only way we have any ratings.
My point, please, is it not possible to agree that the original argument for free trade is indeed flawed?
Sir Michael, they had this same position up to 5 minutes ago. It's not like there was all of a sudden an evolution.
But you're not answering my question.
I will answer your question.
The idea of free trade has indeed been flawed.
No, I will tell you. Let me answer your question. There are a bunch of coward, pusillanimous people who...
Pusillanimous. Word of the day.
Want to stay in power and be around Donald Trump, who
I'm arguing something very different. I'm arguing something very different.
No, I'm arguing...
We both know that she's correct, and we both know that she's being disingenuous.
Okay, I just a couple points. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, blue collar area, manufacturing, steel mills, devastated by plants closing,
True.
car manufacturers closing. I just have real sad news for a lot of people living in places like Youngstown, Ohio. Many of those jobs are never coming back.
She's right. We are not going to build Model Ts and top hats anymore, but we will build other things that we need, like medical supplies, computer chips, microchips, batteries, drones, things that are required for a modern economy.
Because the way we manufacture things have changed, because we have technology. And I think to associate the tariffs to jobs and revitalizing Youngstown, Ohio, is being dishonest with voters and with workers in that area. We need to think about new ways to create industries in our country. I think the other thing, though, is to your point of
She's correct.
China. We now have China, South Korea, and Taiwan working together to think about how they will retaliate against America.
Taiwan is exempt, by the way.
And then I just want to, the words we are using in this conversation, retaliation and escalation, those are words you use in war. And I'm worried that when people in history, when these type of tariffs and attacks have happened, it often comes before we go into war.
She's right about one thing. I don't know about tariffs leading to war necessarily, but she's right about this escalatory language that they've been doing, and I'm not a fan. But what people don't understand about Donald Trump, as I alluded to earlier, either they think of him as someone, this mastermind genius playing 4D chess with everyone, or they think of him as a bumbling idiot that simply keeps on succeeding because all his supporters are bumbling idiots and there's just enough of them to go around to just keep the gravy train going for Donald Trump. But what they don't understand is that Donald Trump is a warlock, right? We speak in English, me and you. Donald Trump speaks in spells. If you recall, if you happen to see it, his interview with Joe Rogan before the election, he described himself as basically an honest person. Basically, right? I got a kick out of that. Basically an honest person. Or basically a truthful person. One of those. That's because he's not speaking like we speak. He's speaking in a way to manipulate attention because he understands something fundamental about the universe. And because of that, there's a little avatar of Donald Trump living in billions of people's minds. And that energy and that attention is directed towards him. And he simply moves his cells and steers towards whatever his goal is based on that energy. That is why the original tariff plan looks kind of ridiculous, I'm not going to lie. But that's because he knows that's not where it's going to land. That's simply where it's going to start. He's going to use the energy from the attention to guide it towards the direction. And it's not as simple as considering him a deal maker, because that's not quite right. Because Donald Trump understands that the fundamental currency of the universe is attention.
If you made it this far